Could you tell me how you managed to steal a matriarchal name, Chief Woos? How'd you steal that name? It was a year ago today. How'd you steal it?
Cian Bexey for Rebel News in Burns Lake, British Columbia. It's a small town just off the beaten path. It's one of those towns that prices their gas off of the color of your skin. It's in the area where the Coastal GasLink pipeline is in the process of being built, and it's very close by to where Justin Trudeau's minister, Carolyn Bennett, came to negotiate with a Frank Alec. Now, they reached some sort of tentative deal that is going to have to be run by the local community, and nobody really knows what's going on. So I'll leave it to Carolyn Bennett to explain.
We I believe, have come to a proposed arrangement that will also honor the protocols of the Wet'suwet'en people and clans, and obviously that what we've worked on this weekend needs to go back to those clans, and then we have agreed that as ministers we will come back to sign if it is agreed upon by the nation.
Now, Carolyn Bennett sure didn't do a stand-up job explaining what this agreement was about, so I started asking some questions. First off, I wanted to know who the individual was that was standing beside her. The mainstream media says that this is Chief Woos, and really, that's not the right name to use. It's a name that he stole from a woman. Frank Alec, let me introduce you to him, is his real name, and to be frank, I'm not sure he's playing with a full deck of cards. See, Frank Alec, while he does lead a consulting company, Frank J. Alec Consulting, where he profits off of the First Nations industry of negotiating agreements, Frank Alec is also a flat earther. He's a conspiracy theorist, talking about aliens at Area 51, among other insane things. But of course, this is the individual that Minister Carolyn Bennett decided to stake a $6 billion pipeline on. This is who we're negotiating with. Now, Frank Alec says that he supports women, but does he really? And can you really claim to support women when you steal their names? March 2nd, 2019, a year ago today, Frank Alec took the name Chief Woos from Darlene Glam. Now, Darlene Glam lost that name in a coup of sorts after she supported the Coastal GasLink pipeline. Now, Darlene and her matriarch peers were stripped of their hereditary titles by 7 men, and the reason for that was because they supported the Coastal GasLink pipeline. To be more specific, it was because they started a group called the Wet'suwet'en Matrilineal Coalition, which was created to help bring people together to discuss tough issues facing the community. These women were stripped of their titles by this Frank Alec character who is now negotiating with feminist minister Carolyn Bennett, and nobody seems to be asking any questions about it. Well, I'm here at Burns Lake right now to do exactly that. Now, it's not a very big town, so I'm going to go in there, see if I can find Frank Alec, and ask him a few questions about what's going on here in northern BC. So I'm heading into Burns Lake now, and I have a few leads as to where Frank Alec has to be today, and I think that he has to leave town. He's been doing a bunch of meetings recently, especially with the Liberals. And just the nature of this part of the country, you have to drive about an hour to get anywhere from Burns Lake. And although I didn't go to investigative journalism school, my hunch is that he's going to have to go to a gas station. Ironically, even if he doesn't support a pipeline, he's still going to have to fill up his truck with fuel products. So I'm going to go away to the gas station and see if we can ask some accountability questions of Frank Alec.
My name's Cian. I'm with Rebel News. We're doing a story on your negotiations with Carolyn Bennett.
Not interested.
Could you tell me who is paying you to do these negotiations? Could you tell me how you managed to steal a matriarchal name, Chief Woos? How'd you steal that name? It was a year ago today. How'd you steal it?
Now that went pretty much exactly as I expected it to go. Frank Alec, and I'm not going to call him Chief Woos because he stole that name, Frank Alec couldn't answer my questions because if he did, and if he answered them honestly, he knows exactly how bad it would look on him that he stole the matriarchal hereditary title, a title for females, all because the woman that held that position, that had that name and title, didn't also have the right opinion, the opinion that the 7 men in the room decided was the right one. That's the kind of feminism that Justin Trudeau's government is negotiating with in 2020 over a $6 billion pipeline. Now I'm going to stay in this area and keep asking questions, covering this blockade, covering the indigenous issues in this area and the Coastal GasLink pipeline mainly. But I need your help, and I need you to continue following along with what's going on. And YouTube won't keep you up to date with what's going on if you're just subscribed. So if you ring the notification bell at the bottom of this video, it would go a long way to staying up to date with what's going on here. Now I want to know more about Frank Alec. I want to know who he reports to. Who is paying him and his consulting company that he's had for many, many years? We know that his organization, the Office of the Wet'suwet'en, which I exposed last year, rakes in cash from foreign entities like the Tides Foundation, radical organizations like them. They take money in from the Pembina Institute, Forest Ethics, and a host of other radical organizations. Is he consulting with them when he goes into these negotiations with the government? Normally, elected officials have to report what's going on, who's lobbying them, where they get their money from, who they consult with. But in the case of Frank Alec, who owns a private consulting company and also happens to be the newly minted Chief Woos, who works at the Office of the Wet'suwet'en, well, we don't know much about him. I'm going to keep digging, though, and we are going to get to the bottom of this. For Rebel News in Burns Lake, British Columbia, I'm Cian Bexte. Thank you so much for watching our coverage here. It takes a lot to get stories like this off the ground. I had to come here from Calgary. I'm staying here a few days to get to the bottom of this story and a few others surrounding the Coastal GasLink pipeline. If you go to endtheblockades.com and pitch in a few bucks, it would go a long ways to helping us out.